Hello, my name is Ben.
My name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video. We're going to go straight into our teams and let's see how we're lining up for next game week.
Okay, so we're going to kick off into my team for game week 11. Last week, got a small green arrow up into the top 200k in the world, which is really nice. Hoping to improve on that in the coming weeks, get as many greens as we can. We're kicking off with Onana in goal. What is to be said here? United defensively are a shambles at the moment. I'm just hoping something happens between now and Saturday lunchtime. United are the early kickoff, so who knows? Miracles can happen in early kickoffs, and United might keep a clean sheet. That is what I'm pretty much banking on at the moment with United, because their defence is really bad. It's just covered in injuries. They've got no first-choice defenders available. Casemiro, who came back in the Carabao Cup, is now re-injured again, so they don't have a defensive midfielder either first choice. Not looking good. Onana's been a terrible pick to start the season, so I'll be looking forward to getting him out of the team when I wildcard from game week 12 to 13. And then in the defence, we've got Adoji, waiting for an update on him tomorrow, hopefully. Hear what Ange has to say. Obviously, Ange was quite skeptical, I guess you could say, last week before the Palace game on the Friday. Then he was left out of the squad altogether. So, yeah, I'll be looking forward to see what he says about Adoji there. It's an easy transfer out if he isn't fit anyway, because the fixtures aren't too great, but Chelsea aren't great going forward either. So, want to wait and see with him. Tsimikas, Luton away, great fixture. He's been a good little asset since Andy Robertson's been injured, just ticking along with 6-pointers every week. Can't complain. And then we've got Matty Cash as well, who obviously managed to get that clean sheet because he got subbed off before the goal conceded against Luton. And then also got robbed of an assist by Ollie Watkins as well in that fixture. Forest away. I'd expect Villa to concede, if I'm totally honest, in that game. What's your thoughts on that back four, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, for the first time this season, there's 50% of that defence that I'm just not sure about. Adoji, of course, with the injuries and Spurs fixtures looking a little tougher, as well as Manchester United and Onana not looking great at all, and Casemiro further compiles that. However, Tsimikas on some set pieces, Matty Cash getting forward as much as he does. I do anticipate some returns there. The only caveat to Tsimikas is obviously the 90 minutes in midweek, but I don't imagine that should affect his minutes going into this game week.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to see how Klopp lines up. He went quite strong midweek against Bournemouth, but I think that's just because they're going to be challenging on a couple of fronts this year. In midfield, we got Bruno Fernandes. Same sort of applies with him. United going forward look equally as bad as they are defensively at the moment. Even in the last two fixtures, just not really creating many chances. Obviously, Fulham is not as hard as Manchester City or Newcastle. So hopefully we can maybe see something there. Bruno Fernandes also has 3 goals in his last 2 games, I do believe, against Fulham. So there's some good historical data to back up a pick with him. We've got Moussa Diaby, again, Forest away, obviously coming off that 13-point haul with Villa. Hoping for the same again. He managed to outscore Watkins quite heavily last week. So at the moment, they're sort of 50-50 in that race since I brought Diaby in to sort of cover Watkins, as I can't really move to Watkins right now. Anthony Gordon got taken off at 60 minutes against United, which was really handy. Obviously started that game midweek. Did pick up a slight knock, but I think it was nothing too serious. Arsenal at home is not an easy fixture, but I think Newcastle, they're the best attacking team in the league at the moment, so they're scoring goals for fun, and he's a big part of how they play. Got Son with Chelsea at home. Again, a good fixture, in my opinion, at the moment. I know Chelsea defensively haven't been too bad this season, but I think against Spurs, they will definitely concede at least 1 or 2 goals. And then Salah on the vice-captaincy with Luton away. Just because he's played all those minutes in midweek, I would firmly not have the captaincy on him this week when you've got the other options, as we'll discuss in a moment. What's your thoughts on Salah at the moment, Ben?
Yeah, I think this week's probably not the week to captain him over someone like a striker that we'll talk about a little bit later, because Luton, of course, will probably play a low block and Salah will probably end up drifting quite out wide. If he is playing, he may end up getting a rest. Luton away is the sort of fixture that Klopp may end up resting him for. If he's going to rest him for 1 or 2 games in a year, one of the fixtures might be Luton to do that. But yeah, other than that, the fixtures look good. Obviously, Heung-min Son has a decent fixture against Chelsea. I think he can capitalise on some of sort of Chelsea's defense, and as well, I think he thrives in tougher games, to be honest with you. And Anthony Gordon is maybe one that I'm like, will he get a return? Will he not? I think the fact that Newcastle are home probably swings it more to the favour of, I think he will get some points there. And then, Bruno Fernandes, another one from Manchester United that, I wouldn't be confident on getting points on, but you never know when a penalty is around the corner for him.
Yeah, definitely. And then up front, we've got the same duo as we do pretty much every week so far this season. I feel like I've had them for so many weeks now. It's Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. Both got Bournemouth at home. I'm looking for big goals in this game. I think City could easily win this game, maybe 4-5. Bournemouth, one of the worst defenses in the league so far this season. And obviously Erling Haaland will take the armband. Seems to be back into form a little bit. Obviously got the return against Brighton, then the big haul against United. So hoping he can be back to his best. I'd expect him to be heavily captain though, so not really too much to cheer about in terms of points there. And then I'll show you my bench as well before I let Ben analyse the whole team. We've got Areola, Brentford away. Obviously, it's Areola versus Onana. For me, I'm still leaning on Onana over Areola. West Ham's defence isn't much better than United's. And Brentford away. I also think Brentford are a much better offensive team than Fulham at the moment. Obviously, Colwill, he's also someone who I'm looking to get rid of at the moment. Between him and Adoji, I think my transfer plans one of them will leave my team by the deadline on Saturday. And then obviously Kabore and Mubama make up the numbers. In terms of the defensive replacements for my team, it's a little bit tricky because I'm wildcarding in a couple of weeks. I just need someone who's going to be decent for the next couple. And it seems to be that someone has a good fixture this week and then a bad fixture next week or vice versa. So still undecided on the defensive pick. But if you want to know, as always, definitely check out the Patreon because our teams are always posted in there before the deadline hits. What's your thoughts on the attack and bench, Ben, and maybe those transfer plans?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult to work out sort of the best strategy here to attack 2 game weeks with a defensive transfer. So it's not ideal at all to be having to sort of be in that position to do that. But yeah, Alvarez will be a differential this week for sure. Bournemouth at home, having him in, I think you should be fairly confident on some points there. But yeah, it's the fairly weak bench that needs sort of addressing there with Colwill potentially coming off the bench if any of your players don't play. So it's one that needs to be made, the defensive change, but it's a difficult one to go with because you're going to be more likely than not to put in a player that you're probably going to keep on a wild card anyway. Okay, so moving on into my team, and there's already some differences in there. I wildcarded last week, so I've got quite a few new players in my team. Areola goes in goal for me this week. It's a bit of an easier choice for me to make in terms of a goalkeeper decision. I've either got Turner, who's got Villa at home, which is a very high-scoring team, or Areola away against Brentford. And I just think for save potential, Areola even got quite a lot of saves against Everton. So that's why I'm opting with him to go in goal to begin with. I think the save chance and the ceiling's just a little bit higher with him this week. So I'm going with him. And we all know the EO is probably going to be quite high with him as well. Matty Cash to start off the defence, and I'm hoping for some sort of returns from him. He's been slightly disappointing since owning him. Obviously, we haven't had the mega hauls that we had close to the start of the season. Gabriel, I anticipate probably coming back into the Arsenal 11. However, Newcastle away is a tough one, so I'm going to have to sort of hold on that and see what happens. Then we've got Tsimikas in there as well. I've been fairly happy, actually. 2 clean sheets in 2 since I brought him in. And then finally, to round off the defence, Gay of Crystal Palace. They look defensively, statistically, very, very solid. So I'm happy to own him for this week. Josh, what are your initial thoughts on that defence and keeper?
Yeah, overall, it's pretty solid. Like you say, Areola is obviously a better pick than Turner if you've got that cheap double up in goal. Gabriel, definitely not a fan of him at the moment for this week. You know, Newcastle, like we said, one of the best attacks in the league right now. So I'd be doing my best to try and bench him this week if I could. And then Gahey, really, really nice pick. I think Palace were a team that I'd be looking at in my transfer personally to try and maybe target. Burnley, really, really poor so far this season. So yeah, should be an interesting one. And Palace got a lot of players coming back from injury as well in the coming weeks.
So as you can see, it's starting to look like a bit of an away day for my FPL team. We've got Salah at Luton away, vice captain, obviously not the captaincy this week, as I addressed that with Josh. There's a slight risk, in my opinion, this week with Salah. Even though the fixture is so good, there is always that little risk, especially with the minutes being played in midweek. Son, again, like I said before, I'm fairly confident on returns from him because he plays so well against sort of lines that are a little bit higher up the pitch, that press up just a little bit more. I think Chelsea's philosophy should be to press a little bit higher, Pochettino in. So I'm hoping Son can get returns off the back of that. Mitoma against Everton away. Again, he's been a little bit disappointing this season in terms of consistency of attacking returns, and I'm hoping Everton away can be the ones to turn it around. Although saying that, Everton have kept a couple of clean sheets in a row. They're looking very confident. So it is a bit of a decision to make in that regard. And then Bukayo Saka, Newcastle away. Again, it looks like at the moment the double up on the Arsenal. I think, again, like Josh said, Gabriel is probably not finalised and probably likely to end up on the bench by the time the game week starts, as I maybe will opt for an attacking player rather than a defender in this situation. But Bukayo Saka, again, is a consistent returner. Hopefully he can start getting those bigger hauls again. Josh, thoughts on the midfield? There's a couple in there that, need to sort of start picking up some slack in the FPL team anyway.
Yeah, definitely with Matoma. Just there's so many options around his price. If he's not picking up, he's an easy switch out, especially next week when you have potentially 2 free transfers if you don't use one this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Brighton as the attack is decent. It's just you don't never know what formation they're playing right now. They've got so many injuries, so De Zerbi's mixing it about quite a lot. We saw like a 3-back at the weekend against Fulham, so something totally different to what we've seen so far from De Zerbi. Saka, I think, is a good pick and definitely a good long-term pick as well. I think from before the 9th of December, so in the next month, basically, they face Burnley, Luton, and another fodder team, basically, like Bournemouth. So, yeah, a really, really nice pick. If you're looking at Arsenal's attack, I'd definitely be looking at the likes of Saka, Martinelli, and even potentially Eddie Nketiah as well. 5.6 million now with Jesus out confirmed until at least the start of December. You should have a decent run with Arsenal attackers.
Okay, and finishing it off with my strikers, I of course went with Ollie Watkins on the wild card, as 90% of managers who were on a wild card did, and I'm fairly happy with owning him this week. Last week he accumulated an XG of 1.36, which is his most that he accumulated in a game without any return. So I'm really happy with keeping him for this week. And of course, Haaland against Bournemouth at home, captain material all over. I think I'll probably lose points on most players just due to the fact that I've only got one City player. I'm fairly happy keeping with one for now. Obviously, Pep Roulette is a thing, but Alvarez is one that probably could damage my rank anyway. And then on the bench, I think the decision will be for me probably not Branthwaite, because I back Brighton to score this week, even though Everton sort of at home look defensively solid. I still think they'll concede this week. The decision is Cole Palmer or Gabriel. At the moment, Gabriel's in the team, but I think that could change to Cole Palmer. He's looked really, really good over the last few weeks. He's been really unlucky as well not to get a return. Particularly last week, he created one big chance, created a lot of chances within that Chelsea team, and he looked like a bright spark in there and got an attacking return in midweek. So it's more than likely that Cole Palmer will end up coming into the team, potentially on penalties as well. Josh, thoughts on the strike force and the plan there in the substitutions? I'm not making a free transfer this week, so I'll have 2 for next week.
Yeah, this is the right plan to do, especially after a wild card. You should never really use that free transfer after your wild card. Otherwise, you're not really set up too well on the wild card itself. Watkins, it's basically Watkins versus Alvarez. It has been for a lot of weeks. Not a lot of managers go with the 3 up top, so it's who you want there. Obviously, Watkins is now higher owned than Alvarez, so he's a bigger threat to a lot of people's ranks. I think it'll be an interesting one, who scores most, because obviously both have decent fixtures. But yeah, he's a very good asset, and non-owners like me last week definitely got away with murder in terms of not returning at all. In terms of the 50-50 decision, I'd lean more on Palmer. Like you said, Brentford game, I'm not sure how he actually didn't get a return. He literally could have had a goal, potentially an assist as well. He's on penalties. He's took the last penalty that we saw, so I'd be shocked if he's taken off them, considering he scored it. Anything can happen in a game like that, Chelsea versus Tottenham. So if I've got a potential penalty taker compared to Gabriel playing one of the best attacks in the league, I think I would definitely start Cole Palmer over Gabriel. So that wraps up our Game Week 11 team selection. Let us know what you think of our teams in the comments below. What transfers would you make in my position, or would you start Palmer or Gabriel in Ben's position?
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I've been Ben,
I've been Josh.
and we'll see you guys
Later. Have a good game week, everyone.